right, let's open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Yahshua HaMashiach will return. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Olive, Abraham, Yashak, Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for your strength and your protection throughout the week, Yah, bringing us into your day of rest, your set apart, your hallowed day, your Shabbat, Yahweh. We're thankful that you have allowed us to take part of it. We're thankful that you've gave us the means and the desire, Yahweh, to gather the mikra, Yahweh, in the Kodesh mikra on your holy day, Yah. And we humbly come before you, Yahweh, as your servants, as your children, as your adopted sons and daughters, Yah. We ask that you allow your angel that sits at the door and knock to come in and sup with us and us with him, Yah. So your name could be here on these grounds, giving us that Kodesh mikra that you commanded us, Yahweh, to keep, and that you promised us, Yahweh, that when we be spread abroad, Yahweh, and we turn towards your holy temple, Yahweh, for repentance, Yahweh, and prayer, that you would allow us to have this little sanctuary, Yahweh. So we're thankful, Yah. Yah, we also ask, Yahweh, for your mercy, your strength, and your protection, and your hedge, Yahweh, for there is great destruction and great purging going on in the earth right now, Yahweh, and we are under an imminent threat, Yahweh. So we ask it with full belief, Yahweh, as those that abide in your Son, Yahweh, that you put that hedge of protection about your children, Yahweh, during these times of calamity that comes before us, Yahweh. We also ask, Yahweh, that you empower us, Yahweh, to always keep the faith, to worry less, to pray more, and to be movable, Yahweh, by you and your word and your will, Yahweh, that we align ourselves with your will and not seek to push our own will for our short-sightedness, Yah. So, Yah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray, not only for us, but for all your children, Yahweh, and your children to be born in the future, Yahweh. All those that will fear you, Yahweh, and that come together to keep your Shabbat. In your holy, humble, anointed Son's name, Yahshua, we pray. Amen. Amen.
No.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. I'm with my brother Yonatan Yasharah. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is The Purging of the People. The Purging of the People. And we see the stage that the world is on now, where there's destruction on every end. Different continents, different countries, just alone in our own little area, you have earthquakes in diverse places. We're seeing earthquakes come out of Mexico, and we're seeing flooding, happening in India, and you have the whole West Coast is on fire. And then on the other side, we have 2 hurricanes heading towards the East Coast, with a third one coming from the west. The state of our people are destroyed. A lot of us have no clue who we are. We're still living these worldly lives. It's just a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people are dropping like flies. A lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, a lot of local people, young or old. And a lot of time we say, hey, It's the devil, the adversary is doing all these different things. But when we study the scripture, we know that shall there be evil in the land, that Yahweh is not behind this. Now, does Yahweh physically do the evil himself? No, but nothing goes on without him allowing it, without his divine will, which is divinely intervening, or his permissive will allowing things to happen. Because at the end of the day, what the devil will use, or the adversary will use for bad, the Most High will use for good. So there's a purging process going on, you know, and even from a individual perspective, there's a purging going on with us while we're being put through this fire to purge out the impurities in us. And if we refuse to purge out the impurities, we're going to get purged out. And we already know the statistics on that. 2/3, according to Zechariah, are going to be purged out, cut from the kingdom. And that third is not going to have an easy route. They're going to have to be brought through the fire. So we want to ensure that we are part of this purging process individually, spiritually, and physically in our bodies, so that we don't get caught in the purging of the people, where the rebels are being purged out and the righteous ones are being prepared to live in peace. So we're going to open up first in Amos chapter 3. Amos chapter 3. And Amos is right before Obadiah and Micaiah and Jonah.
Right after Joel and Hosea.
Yoel.
Yeah, Yoel.
Amos chapter 3.
Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Yasharal, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Mizraim, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Will a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing?
So in understanding that this is a punishment, this is our captivity, the land of our captivity, ultimately the word seeks to correct itself. So we were the ones in transgression. So we are trying to correct ourselves so that we can be back where we belong in our land, which means that we are going to have to come out of this land as a nation, not individuals, but as a nation. But for that to happen, it says it clearly right there. Can two walk together except they be agreed? So if we're not agreeing as a nation that we are going to govern ourselves according to the righteousness of this word, then how are we going to walk together? We're going to have separation. We're going to have issues. All right, so verse 4.
Will a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and Yahweh has not done it?
So shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people be not afraid? There's a lot in that one verse. First of all, trumpet is blown for multiple reasons. So you have to understand what the shofar or the trumpet being blowing means to know how to deal with it. So these day and ages, folks have no clue what the blowing of the shofar means or the trumpet means. It could mean either a warning because there's a danger heading our way, or it could mean gather the children of Yasharal, depending on how it's blown. It could mean the blowing over to
assemble, for us to assemble before the congregation, as well as before war, or for the eastern tribes to come out to go against war first. So there's a lot of different reasons. And with this so-called Hurricane Irma coming, Hurricane Irma is actually looking and shaping to come on trumpets, right around the Feast of Trumpets. And Irma literally in the Greek or whatever language that is means goddess of war. So how often does a hurricane hit or aim towards Atlanta, Georgia? That's Florida, Miami. I grew up in Miami, so that's nothing. But Atlanta, Georgia, Tennessee, all those areas, that's very rare. And how fitting is it that the name of it is goddess of war, to the Babylon, the great whore. You know, there's a lot of symbolism going on here, and they're choosing these names very particularly. So, but with all that, understanding with the harp and NASA making clouds and all this weather modification things they have, at the end of the day, man might be physically behind these things. But at the end of the day, shall there be evil in a city, and Yahweh has not done it. So just as man thinks that he's trying to control the will of this world, he's falling right in according to Scripture. Those wicked devices and contraptions that's all talked about in here, they're falling right along with prophecy. But in this process, there's going to be a lot of purging of people, because that's the whole goal, is to reduce the population. Reduce it so it could be a more manageable, controllable number, so that they could even be further rich. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Verse 7. Surely my sovereign Yahweh will do nothing, but he reveals his secret unto his servants, the prophets. The lion has roared, who will not fear? My sovereign Yahweh has spoken, who can but prophesy? Publish in the palaces at Ashdod, and in the palaces at the land of Mizraim, and say, assemble yourselves upon the mountains of Samaria, and behold the great tumults in the midst thereof, and the oppressed in the midst thereof. For they know not to do right, says Yahweh, who store up violence and robbery in their palaces. Therefore thus says my sovereign Yahweh, an adversary there shall be even round about the land, and he shall bring down your strength from you, and your palaces shall be spoiled. Thus says Yahweh, as the shepherd takes out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Yasharal be taken out that dwell in Samaria in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus in a couch. Hear you, and testify in the house of Jacob, says my sovereign Yahweh, the Elohim of hosts, that in the day that I shall visit the transgressions of Yasharal upon him, I will also visit the altars of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground. And I will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, says Yahweh.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 22. And as usual, we have another question as far as why the brothers' heads are covered. Well, if you go examine that in Corinthians chapter 11, you will see that it says a man that covers his head during praying or prophesying dishonoreth his head. And we know that Yahshua is our head. So we are not praying, nor are we prophesying. If you caught the beginning of the class, you'll see that we remove our head covers and we pray because we are getting ready to pray. And at the end of the class, we remove our head covers again because we are ready to pray. And we are not prophesying. We are reading out of a published book that has been here thousands of years, well before we have even were thought of. So we are not violating anything. So we got to kind of, and it's good. I'd rather somebody ask than just be ignorant and just assume the wrong thing, because this is what they're teaching in camps. They're either teaching you that you have to have your head covered all the time, which is not a law, or they're teaching you that if you have your head covered, you dishonoring your head. That's not true. The woman has to have her head covered when she's praying or prophesying. And culturally, as a tradition, the husband and the fathers prefer to have their women with their heads covered. But even that is not a law and commandment. That is a righteous tradition that we have done to show that this woman has a covering, that she has a father, that she's part of a nation, that she's covered under Yahshua.
I would talk about the word used there actually means being veiled.
Exactly, which
Veiled
is
wholly.
fully covered. So even to be technical, we don't even have to remove our circumferential hats. It's talking about fully covered like a high priest, or veiled all the way in your face, covered like somebody that's at a funeral crying and making ugly faces that they don't want people to see, which is dishonorable when we are in the glory of the Most High. So Matthew chapter 22, and we're going to read Matthew chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 1.
And Yeshua answered and spoke unto them again by parables and said, The kingdom of Shamayim is like unto a certain king which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. But they made light of it, and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise.
All right, so we know that the marriage of the Lamb, which is Yahshua, and us being the nation of Yasharal, being married, which means we are becoming one with the head and being under the household. That marriage feast is coming, and we are invited by a nation, just as we read in Amos chapter 3, you alone of all the nations have I known. So we are his family. We are being invited to the marriage, but folk got stuff to do. You know, I can't come keep the Shabbat. You know, I got to work. I got to make this money. You know, I'm trying to get this new house, I'm trying to get this new car. I'm trying to pay off these student loans. And then you have another, he's going, you know, to other things. He's got other things to do. He got to go to his farm. He got to take care of his property. You know, this is day off. He worked for master Monday through Friday. So Saturday, he going to work for himself and do all these things. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 6.
And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them.
All right. The remnant, which is us. We are the remnant, what's left of the children of Yasharal. And we took the servants, the prophets, those that speak the word, those that do the works, and we entreated them spitefully. So when the servants came out and said, hey, bro, you know, we supposed to be keeping the Shabbat. You know, this is Daddy's day. This is Father's day. What's wrong with you? Go do that tomorrow. You got the first day of the week to handle all that stuff. You got 6 other days to do what you got to do. So what they did, they entreated them spitefully and slew them. Go ahead.
But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then said he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go you therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid to the marriage.
All right, so righteousness came to you. Righteousness came to you. Righteousness came. I sent my son down here, and he came in the word, and he was giving you all this righteousness. I came to you. You didn't want it. You felt like this gold, this silver, these things were more important to you than to be part of this family, to become one, than to celebrate the marriage feast. So what he do? All right, go on the highways. These people ain't worthy, but we gonna get people up in here because this is an honor. Righteousness is too valuable to just have it sitting on the shelf. Go ahead.
Verse 10. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all, as many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment.
All right, so he went out and grabbed as many people, anybody that want to hear this word, that's attracted to righteousness for whatever reason, whether they're getting a free meal when they come into Shabbat, whether they get some people to talk to, whether they getting a loan, whether they get to look at Hebrew women, whatever the case they be, they weren't originally invited, but now they are invited and place is furnished. But when you are furnished and you are coming into the house of the Most High, you better have somebody, you better ask somebody, how do I need to approach unto the Most High? How do I need to come before him? So you have somebody here that showed up to a wedding with no wedding garment. That's like, man, you show up to the football game, you ain't got no pads on. You're not ready to play. How is that going to happen? How did you not ask somebody? Why were you not told what needed to happen? How did you get in here? So this wedding garment represents the spirit. So how are you going to approach into a spirit? Yahweh is a spirit. He's not a man like us. You're going to approach into a spirit and you're not going to spiritually prepare yourself? You are naked. You are naked because you do not have the spirit. So that sticks out right away. Because somebody doesn't have the spirit, those that have the spirit, it's going to stick out like a bright light. Because if you're in complete darkness and somebody walking here with a light bulb, everybody in darkness is going to see that. And if you are a light and you got a bunch of light and a huge darkness comes through, that's going to be obvious. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And he said unto him, Friend, how came you in here not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
That's the lake of fire. Take this brother and send him to the lake of fire, because he should have known better. He had an opportunity. He wasn't initially invited, but because the children messed up, now I'm allowing these other nations to have an opportunity to come in here and seek after righteousness. But you better go make sure that you approach properly, the same way the children of Yasharal have to approach properly. If you don't know, you better ask somebody, or you better get in the same rule book that we have. Go ahead.
For many are called, but few are chosen.
So many are called. Our nation is called. All the other nations that have been led through the Mashiach to this word are called, but very few are chosen. So if you have a whole bunch of people called up to the line, but he's only going to pick a few, then that's a purging. I'm purging. I'm getting rid of the line. Y'all just, you showed up to a wedding with no wedding garment, and you showed up to a wedding with a white dress on? What's wrong with you? You the bride? Get out of here. Y'all too vain. Get out of here. So we have to understand that this is what we are living for now. We are living to be chosen. We're not living to be called. We're living to be chosen. Let's move on. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 7. And us that know the Father, we were given the inside track. That's just like somebody say, look here, this is what's going to be on the test. Learn these answers right here and make sure when they switch the questions around that you understand these answers. That way you can apply it properly, because it's not going to be as easy as this right here. But you were given it, whereas somebody else, they gotta go search all over the place to get that. You were given that. So you're gonna have to be ready for this. It shouldn't be a surprise to us that this process is going on, because he's sent countless and countless servants, prophets. He even sent his own son so that we know what was going to happen. Again, he said, like we read in Amos, he doesn't do anything without telling his servants, the prophets, first. So he told the prophets, and the prophets went and told us, and we have all the information, so we have the benefit of this. Matthew chapter 7, let's start this at verse 1.
Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you shall judge, you shall be judged, and with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why behold you the mote that is in your brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in your own eye? Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull out the mote out of your eye, and behold, a beam is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then shall you see clearly to cast out the mote out of your brother's eye.
So you can't even begin to help your nation until you help yourself. You got to get yourself together before you can help anybody else. Does it not say, a man that feeds another before feeding his own is worse than an infidel? So you worse than somebody that don't believe in God if you don't deal with your own situation first. and then go out there and want to feed everybody else. And if you haven't dealt with your own situation, the food you got is tainted. The food you giving somebody else is tainted. Go ahead.
Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast you your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you.
Be careful who you call swine, because it's not a coincidence that it starts with judge not, that you be not judged. Because when you call somebody swine, you're saying they're not worthy of receiving this information, which could save their lives. So the measure you meet is the measure you're going to be met with. So if you say, you know, this person, I talked to him before and I told them, don't do that transgression. And they decided they going to do it anyways. I ain't telling them nothing else. That's swine. I ain't casting my pearls amongst swine. Well, that's the measurement you're going to be met by. You're going to take that same ruler, put it up next to you and say, well, yep, you meet that same one. I'm going to stop sending servants to you. I'm going to stop sending my Holy Spirit to you because you said people not worthy of mercy. You've decided that. Now, when you see somebody that is not trying to hear this word, that's why we're giving you admonish somebody 2 times, and after that time, that's it. Consider them a heretic. So you have to put forth the effort. You still have to try a few times. But if you're going to err, like we always say, err on the side of mercy. Don't err on the side of, I gave him one too less of a chance before his breakthrough. I'd rather be, well, I gave him 1 too many chances. You have something, Elder?
I'm glad you bring that point up because I've seen on Facebook where some of these camps on the street speaking the word of Yah, and yet they was telling Gentiles and people who don't know this word, you know, that if you're not black.
Right, you got to speak up a little bit, Elder. Somebody had commented on one of the classes that they couldn't hear the Elder.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you're speaking on this because I've also witnessed on Facebook, you know, that people who's talking about this word, you know, they talk to Gentiles and they would tell them, don't worry about this, we're not talking about you, you know, you got no part in this, so you can just go ahead on. And I thought that was very cruel because, you know, how can you judge a Gentile because you believe, because this book has been written for our people, this is our book, talking about the history that they're not entered in.
Right.
You cannot do this, even though it states, you know, Yeshua said to the woman, I think it's in maybe chapter 23, no, 15, it's not right to give the meat and children's meat to dogs.
Right.
He's talking about heathens, people who don't believe in the Father. But this woman proved herself that she believed in the Most High, and she believed on Him. She called Him son of David.
Right.
You know, she believed in Him, and she took the insults and humbled herself because she knew who she was going to get her child's healing from. And then, because of her tenacity, she got the blessing for her daughter to be healed. And it tells you in Galatians that, you know, there is no difference between a Gentile or a Jew.
Right.
You're talking about Yahweh allowed them to come in just when He allowed them to go see Cephas. You know, Gentiles see Cephas, and Cephas had to understand it wasn't about the unclean food at that particular time, because no Israelite ate unclean food because they become unclean before the fall. They come before the Father. But yet, these people were Gentiles who received the Spirit, but they had to show themselves in order to Cephas so he would know that they received the Spirit and they had a job to do to speak to other Gentiles, not to Israelites, you know, not to the state of the Guru.
Right.
So I want to make that point because, you know, and expound on it just a second because people need to stop judging,
Right.
you know, wrongly. I mean, we make judgments every day on what kind of pants we're going to put on, food we're going to eat, you know, if you want to go buy a car. But still, He's saying, have mercy upon them. Don't just bust them down and insult them and injure them because they won't take your first message from you.
Right.
You know, you don't have that right. Now, if they say, I don't want this at all, I don't talk to me about it at all, then you refrain from talking about it.
Right.
Let Yahweh deal with them. Yahweh judge them. You know? They'll hit the lake of fire if that's what Yahweh wants, if they refuse to follow his will.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not for us to do. We can only say what the word says. If you continue in those ways, recourse to lake of fire. Period.
Right. Right. What I don't understand is how can you get to the point where you talk to a Gentile that ain't never heard this one or two times and you expect them to understand and to adhere when we done had miracles, thousands of years walking through water, water turned to wine. We done had all these different things and we still struggling. And even those of us have accepted this word, that have regenerated, have walked according to this word, we struggling with it. So to think that somebody that is in a position of power in this world right now because of the adversary, the devil, and to think that they're just going to automatically grasp us and get this, that's you putting a huge judgment on yourself, because then y'all's going to say, no, and I knew this Gentile, this Goyim right here might listen to it in another month or so, which means he only had about a year or so to hear this stuff. You didn't have 20 years to hear this stuff, and you ain't hearing nothing.
You don't know how long Yahweh will strive with that.
Nope. We don't know. Go ahead, brother.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 7. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks finds, and to him that knocks it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? Therefore, all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads unto life, and few there be that find it.
All right, so if there's only, we're going to stop right there. So if there is a narrow path that we have to follow in order to come into life, then that's the path that we need to walk so that we're not on that path of purging. That other path is the path of purging, leads to destruction. And that's where most people are heading to, because they're heading that way, because just like sheep, if sheep see 50 sheep go this direction, then the majority of the sheep won't go that direction. And a few might, look and happen to see some feet go that way and go the other direction, but the majority are going to go the other direction. And that could be straight to the slaughterhouse. So we were given the map, we were given the plan. We need to focus on where is that narrow path and how do I walk on that narrow path? And in that process of you looking to find that and putting your mind towards that, the Most High is going to send you that way. Because this is what he had promised us. We were called, and this is the way to being chosen. Let's go back. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 7. Genesis chapter 7. The problem is people think that the Most High is like them. People think the Most High think like how they think. Or the Most High is going to be how they want him to be in their heads. So they have created an idol in their head that says, this is how it is. And this is what is taught to us as children, that he's a certain way. And then when you talk to somebody about him and you say, yeah, and he's got the greatest, this, and he's got the greatest that. Yep. And everybody just agree because you said it and it sounds good. So yeah, that must be the truth. But that's not the truth. You got to go and see his character and see how he is operated. And to say that you're going to be able to do whatever you want to do and it's going to be well with you and your family when he restarted the whole earth with 8 people, that should let you know that he's not playing. Go ahead, Elder.
I'm glad you brought that up too, brother, because people get the wrong idea. You know that they don't read the scripture or study the scripture when they're talking about, well, God made us in his own image. All they're thinking about is flesh.
Right.
They're not thinking about the spirituality portion of this. You know, and that's where you know, well, you don't really understand this. You know, because I mean, I've seen Gentiles, you know, talk about the Americans and all Israel. You think Elohim is Caucasian?
Right.
You know, I mean, I've seen brothers that do well, you know, Elohim is black. You know,
Right.
but his son was made in that color.
Right.
Okay? His son. And yeah, they do talk about, you know, hair like wool, so forth, that he's saying is the father.
Mhm.
But they basically was talking about, you know, the son. You know, so, and he chose us as his people.
Mhm.
You know, but still, you can't thinking that's the whole sum of the issue because you're thinking fleshly. You gotta understand what the spiritual part. He said, no, what about your heart? He knows the heart, you don't know the heart. He's telling you right then and there. You have to follow him. And he has to shape you, mold you into his image.
Right.
That's what he's talking about, the spirituality portion of it.
Exactly.
How are you going to worship him? How are you going to follow him? We don't deal in flesh, but you was correct. More people out here, majority of people think that Yahweh, you know, or God, you know, thinks like they do.
Mm-hmm.
But he said point blank, he does not think like you.
Right.
His ways is higher than ours.
Right. And that's the problem. We always trying to think that the Most High is going to think like us instead of changing our thinking to think like him. That's the regeneration. That's the being reborn. Is to train your mind to think the way that he thinks. And he told us how to think. Think according to these commandments. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 7. Let's start this at verse 1.
And Yahweh said unto Noah, Come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall take to you by sevens, the male and his female. And of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that Yahweh commanded him, and Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creeps upon the earth. And there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth, and in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And the selfsame day entered Noah, Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as Elohim commanded him, and Yahweh shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died. And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven. And they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
All right, so he wiped up the whole entire earth, all the creatures that were made on the 6th day, he destroyed all of them, except for 8 people. 8 people. And we have to always keep that in mind. He's not like us, where Yahweh grew and matured later and said, you know what, I in my youth, I was angry. No, this is a being that has no beginning and no end. It's us that have to grow and mature. So this is the same Elohim that destroyed everything and recreated it with a new seed. Well, it's the same thing with us. He's going to do the same process. He's going to wipe out and purge everything on this earth except for his chosen, the people that he has chosen from the children of Yasharal and the righteous ones that he's chosen from the other nations. And it's going to be in this earth, and they're going to have to be governed according to the righteousness of this book. This is why we are being prepared. We are being prepared to be the government, to be the ones that have to understand this law so that the rest of the nations can fall in. Let's move to Romans chapter 9. But one of the worst damaging teachings is that, all Israel going to be saved. Every last black person that claim he an Israelite going to be saved. That's a huge, huge misteaching and misinterpretation of the word.
Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Mashiach. Let's give Mama some time to get there. I say the truth in Mashiach, I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Ruach Kodesh, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertains the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the sacrifice of Elohim and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Mashiach came, who is over all, Elohim blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of Elohim has taken none effect, for they are not all Yasharal, which are of Yasharal.
All right. So, not as the word of Elohim has taken none effect, for they are not all Yasharal, which are of Yasharal. So just because you are a son or descendant of the 12 tribes does not mean that you are upright with Elohim. That's what Yasharal means, upright with all, or power with El, power with all, or the prince of power. That doesn't mean that that's you just because of your bloodline. For it was the same bloodline that killed the Mashiach, that killed the servants. It was the same bloodline that caused us to be in the position that we're in now. And it's going to take the same bloodline to get us back to where we were. But we have to understand that process, that concept. Again, going into Zechariah, 2/3 of us are getting wiped out. So that means 2/3 of us are of Yasharal, but not Yasharal. That is a tremendous purging. 3 of us in a room, 2 of us getting purged out. You were never really Israel. That's a scary, scary thing. And you can see this happening in the earth right now, where you see this black on black killings and us getting murdered by the police and disease and everything that was warned and prophesied to us if we did not keep the commandments. Because true Yasharal, Yeshurun, the upright ones, the true Yasharal are keeping these commandments and repenting when they don't. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Yitzchak shall your seed be called.
So saying you Hebrew ain't enough.
That's right.
Because so is Esau. Esau is a Hebrew too. This is why when they want to pinpoint who we are, he said here, for who are Israelites, to whom pertains the adoption. So he's letting you know where this adoption is coming. Israelites, not who are Hebrews or Hebrew Israelite. Because if you're an Israelite, you're already a Hebrew. You can't be an Israelite without being a Hebrew, but you can be a Hebrew, just like he said. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham. If you seed of Abraham, that means you came from Eber. You are Abraham. You're a Hebrew. Are they children? Because the seed was called through Yatshak. Abraham, Yatshak, Yaakov. Go ahead.
That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Yitzchak, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the promise of Elohim according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that called. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
And people forget that too. Yahweh hated Esau because Esau had the spirit that hated his brother. If you hate your brother, you can't love your neighbor. You hate your own brother. And he hated his brother without a cause and did not want to take responsibility for his own actions. Now, somebody do something that you don't like, I can understand having a little animosity. But at the end of the day, you have to look at, well, why was that person able to do that? What is my hand in this? But instead, we want to always, I don't want to pay attention to nothing I did in this situation. That person did something I don't like, so I hate them. That's the spirit of Esau. Go ahead.
Verse 14. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Certainly not. For he says to Moshe, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then, it is not of him that wills, nor of him that runs, but of Elohim that shows mercy.
So that means there's nothing that you can physically do to guarantee that you are going to be the one that's going to receive that mercy. All you can do is do things to put yourself in a better position to receive that mercy, because we're all going to need that mercy because we've all been in transgression and will transgress in the future. This is why it says judge how you will be judged, because we're going to need that mercy. So the best thing we can do is walk according to that narrow path and have faith through the Mashiach that we are going to receive that mercy through the Mashiach. Go ahead.
For the scripture says unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Therefore has he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardens. You will say then unto me, why does he yet find fault? For who has resisted his will?
All right, so he will have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will harden. So this is how you can see when Yah is being merciful to somebody. He's being merciful when that person, regardless of what their actions are, when they find themselves in transgression, they're able to receive the rebuke. They're able to receive the reproof, and they're making the attempt to be better. Then you know Yahweh is being merciful to them. And when they get into tribulation and anguish for their transgression, Yahweh is chastening them. He's being merciful. But when you see somebody that's walking in outright transgression and does not care and not being punished, Yahweh is hardening their heart. You don't have to worry, well, when is their recompense going to come? It's going to come. Period. You ain't got to worry. You might not see it, but it's going to come. But that's somebody that Yahweh's hardening their heart, and we want to be careful to make sure that our hearts are not being hardened to the point where we can't accept rebuke or reproof. And Yahweh will test you with that. He'll send a little child to come talk to you. He'll send somebody you taught to come talk to you. Or he'll send somebody that's of another nation to come talk to you. See what's in your heart. To see, is your heart prepared to have these commandments written on the fleshly tables of your heart? Or are you showing forth that you have a stony heart and that you don't want to do anything about that?
Verse 20. No, but O man, who are you that reply against Elohim? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why have you made me thus? Has not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? What if Elohim, willing to show his wrath and make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, even us, whom he has called, not of the Yehudim only, but also of the Gentiles.
All right, so again, he's letting you know. We were called as Yasharah, but also of the Yehudim. Of the Goyim, those that want to cleave on to this word. And let's double check that. Let's look at that Gentiles. What's the Strong's for it?
G1484.
1484 is something else.
G1484 is ethnos.
Okay. Ethnos, which means foreign tribes. So this is talking about anybody who's not Yasharah. So he's letting you know that he's picking people of other nations are also being called.
That's right.
They're being called, which means they have an opportunity. That don't mean they chosen. That don't mean we chosen just because we of the bloodline. But they're getting that opportunity too. Go ahead.
Verse 25. As he says also in Hosea, I will call them my people which were not my people, and her beloved which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living Elohim. Isaiah also cries concerning Yasharal, though the number of children of Yasharal be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved.
So throughout all this, a remnant will be saved, not only of the Yehudim, but also the Goyim. And then all they of Yasharal are not Yasharal. All this stuff is in this one chapter, but somehow people can only pick out that one verse that says, but Israel will be saved. Mm-hmm. You're doing a disservice to yourself if you don't read this book in its entirety. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Verse 28. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will Yahweh make upon the earth. And as Isaiah said before, except Yahweh Sabaoth had left us a seed, we had been in Sodom and been made like unto Gomorrah. What shall we say then? That the Gentiles which followed not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith? But Yasharal, which followed after the law of righteousness, has not attained to the law of righteousness. Why? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. For they stumbled at the stumbling stone.
Exactly. Elder, go ahead and explain that so that they understand what that by the law means.
Well, we're talking about, in this statement about animal sacrifices, because it didn't follow the spirit of the law. It followed the letter of the law. And it said in Scripture, the letter of the law killed. Mm-hmm. So if they had the spirit of the law in their heart, then they will understand why Yeshua came. Mm-hmm. He came to free us, from our evil ways and our evil thoughts and our hearts. He never decided, he never said that the law would be done away with. Mm-hmm. He was just saying that you disrespected the law because you blasphemed against Yahweh, because see, you had plenty. Mm-hmm. And you want to do your ill-gotten ways. So you say, okay, I have a lamb, I have a sheep, I got turtle doves. I'm going to sin because I have a turtle dove to sacrifice, to cover me. But they don't understand. When you had a small ewe lamb that you took care of, I think it was a female lamb too, that you took care of, you called as your child, you nurtured it, you had it in your house, you washed it, you loved it. When it's time to roll over the sins from your family, that ewe lamb have to be a throat cut to have you forgiven for that year.
Right.
Roll your sins over. Now, you don't have no remorse. You don't have any care for that one you lamb dying for your sins, your family's sins. What type of heart do you have? Obviously, you don't care that this lamb had to die for you.
Right.
You're disrespecting the sacrifice. You're disrespecting the gift that was given to you. So, Yeshua was sent down to be the last sacrifice, to die for our sins, to give rabbinical back to the Father, to make you realize the highest form of forgiveness is one man dying for you for your sins.
Right.
So, if you don't understand that, and you don't respect that, then you are going to be sacrificed. You are the one who's going to shed your blood for the ones that will follow Yahweh. And they don't seem to understand that situation. Get right with Yah. Respect the sacrifice that he gave. Ask forgiveness, repent, and follow his will. Don't disrespect the death of the Mashiach. Like they were disrespecting the death of a turtle lamb or a small little lamb, animal. So this is not about, he said, your faith, in other words, your faith has to be spiritual. Your faith has to not rely on physical things.
Right.
To make you clean.
Right.
Just like you talked about earlier about the wedding garment. If you don't have a wedding garment coming into the wedding, you're going to be kicked out, gnashing your teeth.
Right.
Because you're not respecting Yahweh's laws. It's not in your heart. According to the phrase you said, a child should die 100 years old. If you make it into the kingdom, if you're 100 years old and you still have, even in your heart, when the enemy is locked up,
Right.
it's not his fault. It's your fault.
Exactly.
You still want it in your heart.
Exactly.
So it's time for you to leave. You don't belong.
We had a sister say that she's still having difficulty hearing you. So if you can either speak up a little bit, but if we're having difficulty on the Facebook, you can always go to YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube, or you can just go straight to the website, IsraelitesGathering.com, and you'll be able to see the YouTube stream right there on the website. So, or you can call in and you can hear it over the phone. So there's multiple ways to do it. Some people's cell phones are louder than others. Some people's computers, it's different internet speed. So it could be multiple things affecting it. So we do apologize if you're having a difficulty hearing that. And to basically reiterate what the elder was saying, we were as a nation seeking righteousness through the animal sacrifices, the ordinances of the law, where we would, I'm good. I did all this wickedness. I'm not going to stop because I just sacrificed this animal. So I'm good. I'm good with the Most High. In other words, or that would be the equivalent to, I just raped this little girl, but I paid my rape fee. I paid. So I'm good. I'm righteous because I did that. The Gentile didn't have that. The Goyim didn't have all that. He had to learn right from wrong and try not to do it and believe in the Mashiach that they could be forgiven through the sacrifice of the Most High. So that was killing us, and it's killing us now because we still not keeping the law, and we believe in take away the animal sacrifice, replace it with money that we put in the collection plate. We thinking that we ain't got to stop as long as we keep putting money in the collection plate. That shows you that same spirit of the adversary, the devil, is still plaguing us.
Verse 33. As it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone and a rock of offense, and whosoever believes on him shall not be ashamed.
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Bamidbar, chapter 14. Numbers, chapter 14. So Yahweh makes an example that all they of Yasharah are not Yasharah out the gate. Before we even get to the land, he's making this example of this purging process. And every time we were a nation moving together, living together, or doing something for Yah, he purged. There was a purging process. He not just going to take somebody because you somebody. It don't work that way. Bamidbar, Numbers. Numbers is right before Deuteronomy, 4th book.
Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 14 and verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Yasharal murmured against Moshe and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, if only that we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in this wilderness.
Be careful what you say. There's power in that tongue. We are made in the image of the Most High. Again, like the elder was explaining earlier, that's a spiritual image. The Most High, not a man that looked like us. But when he decided to give himself an image, why not give yourself the image of the original man? The original man looked like us. So of course it's going to look like, how are you going to create something and say, you know, he going to come down here and get an image and he going to pick an image of somebody of a nation he never even knew? It doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, Yahweh has brought these people out here, and we murmured, and we did all these different things. And Yahweh said, hey, look, I gave you all this opportunity. I gave you all this chance. You think you murmuring against Moshe? You speaking against Yah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. And why has Yahweh brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return unto Mitzrayim?
You got power in those words. The Most High framed this whole world by speech. He said, let there be light, and there was light. Well, you say, let there be death. There just might be some death. Go ahead.
And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Mitzrayim. Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Yasharal. And Yeshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. And they spoke unto all the company of the children of Yasharal, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If Yahweh delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel you not against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones, and the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Yasharal.
So that lets you know all of Yasharal ain't Yasharal. Yahweh had to show up. Divine intervention had to happen. So again, that further proves that can there not be evil with Yahweh not behind it? Yahweh wasn't going to allow them to stone Moshe. He got a job to do. So Yahweh showed up. His divine intervention came and whoa, wait a minute. I'll strike you down with this lightning right now. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, how long will this people provoke me? How long will it be ere that they believe me? For all the signs which I have showed among them.
That's just us. He's like, yo, what I got to do? What do I have to do? It's like LeBron James takes off from, half court and dunks on Dwight Howard, 7-foot blocker guy. And you still quit. I don't know if you can dunk. I just don't know. You've done it before, but I don't know if you can make this little dunk from, right up under the basket. That's how non-believing we are. We are that because that's not even close to the equivalent. But that's just some carnal comparison. Like, are you kidding me? This man just took off. Nobody has done this. Taken off from half court, and dunked. And you questioning whether this man can dunk? And that doesn't even scratch the surface of how non-believing we were. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, this is verse 12. I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of you a greater nation and mightier than they.
He's testing his servant. Yahweh had no intention of doing that. He already done said what was going to happen. But he's testing his servant so his servant could know what was in his own heart. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto Yahweh, then the Mitzrites shall hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that you, Yahweh, are among this people, and that you, Yahweh, are seen face to face, and that your cloud stands over them, and that you go before them by day time in a pillar of a cloud and in a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you shall kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness.
All right, so Yahweh has a way of showing man his own heart.
That's right.
He'll show you the wickedness that's in your heart, but he'll also show you, listen, you're better than that. You are made in my image. You have that righteousness in you. So I will put you in these situations where you are going to have to make a decision for your glory or the Most High's glory. And when you make that decision, after you've made that decision that I'm a servant, that I'm looking for the glory of the Most High to have, not for me to have, you walk a little bit different once you realize, whoa, you know, I can be this type of person. I am this type of person. So he's constantly testing us and showing us and proving us. He already knows the finished product because he already wrote it. But we have to figure it out. And the quicker we figure that out, the faster we can stop walking this wide path and start focusing back onto this narrow path. Go ahead.
Verse 15.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're at verse 17.
And now I beseech you, let the power of my Yahweh be great according as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgressions, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. All
right, so if he's visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation, then where are people getting this? Well, you know, a man can't, you know, give his life for the transgression of somebody else. When he says clearly here, he's punishing people to the third and fourth generation. Now, what he can't do is sentence somebody else and say, your son did this, so I'm going to put you and you're going to do the judgment is going to come on you. But even if your son did something and he's punished, does not that affect the father and the brother and the name of that family? So everybody's still affected. It's just you can't pronounce that judgment and stone that father. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Pardon, I beseech you, the iniquity of this people according unto the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from Mitzrayim even until now. And Yahweh said, I have pardoned according to your word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Mitzrayim and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice.
10 times. Can you imagine somebody do this to you 10 times something? Somebody do something to me 10 times, which is disrespectful. You might not make 10 times. But Yahweh allowed this 10 times after doing miracles. So it wasn't like he just one time he messed up and he just jumped off the cut and started killing folks. Go ahead.
Verse 23. Surely they shall not see the land which I swore unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwelt in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Yasharal, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, says Yahweh, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number from 20 years old upward, which have murmured against me. Doubtless you shall not come into the land concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Yahshua the son of Nun.
So he killed off everybody who left Mizraim 20 years old and upward. Every last one of them died. That means all of them murmured. That means there was only 2 people that didn't murmur against him, Caleb and Yahshua. Those are the only 2 that made it. Even Moshe passed, Aaron, Miriam, all these people died in the wilderness. That is extreme purging. And he brought the children in to the point where Yahshua had to circumcise these people in the wilderness because they were born in the wilderness. Let's stop right there. But somehow we feel Yahweh just going to open the door and let everybody in there because you got some Jordans on your feet or something. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah chapter 3. And we talked about that the other day, about, what age that you're able to do certain things. And that scripture shows you that Yahweh considers you a whole man at the age of 20 years old. 20 years old. Three. Jeremiah, chapter 3. So with us coming into this word, the first thing that we do once we learn this truth is we go to our friends and our family. Hey, guess what? You an Israelite. You royalty. Oh, man, listen. You are the chosen ones. You are the jewel. America is going to be destroyed for what they have done to us. Man, if you don't get out of here, man, we African. We from Africa. That's the first thing people say. Or, I'm a Christian. I don't care about color and all that. Well, the world cares about your color because they're shooting y'all down. So we feel, well, that's our first letdown when we go to our families and we're so hurt because we're like, I can't believe this. I have this life-saving information and I'm trying to share it with you and you're rejecting me. I can't, I have to separate myself from your pagan festivities. I have to do all that. So you got all these things, and you can't understand in your mind, how could they not see this? Well, how did you not see it? Same situation. But the first and one of the real important lessons you're going to learn in this word, Yahweh don't want your whole family. That's hard. He's already told us in Romans 9, just because you of Israel don't mean you Israel. So he don't want your whole family. That's hard to understand, which means you can't be sitting out here spending all your attention trying to get a family member to understand and walk according to this word and disregard your brother or sister that's starving, that's looking to get a piece of bread. And you got this loaf of bread and I don't want this. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 1. They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But you have played the harlot with many lovers. Yet return again to me, says Yahweh. Lift up your eyes unto the high places, and see where you have not been lying with. In the ways have you sat for them, as the Arabian in the wilderness. And you have polluted the land with your whoredoms and with your wickedness. Therefore, the showers have been withholden, and there has been no latter rain. And you had a whore's forehead. You refused to be ashamed.
All right, so it says, we have played the harlot with many lovers. He's talking about this spiritually. And so to show us spiritually, he brings up the Arabians, which are the Arabs, the mingled people, which have mingled their doctrine because they got so many different people, Esau and Kedar and Ishmael, and all these different religions and groups of people have come together in the Arabic lands and Arabic language and have mixed together all these doctrines and have become polluted with whoredoms where they a little bit keep some of our stuff and then they keep some of this other people's stuff and they do a little bit of this. And that's what we have done. We have played the harlot by taking all these different gods, doing all these different things and doing it because that was the groovy thing to do. That was what was in style. And we did all of that with no shame, with a whore's forehead. The whore is not ashamed because she dressed like in a what do they call a hijab or whatever, where they completely covered. All you can see is their pupils. So they doing whatever they want to do, no shame, because you're not going to go to. I recognize your eyes. You have brown eyes, so I seen your daughter with them brown eyes. Man, you don't know who that is. So this is how we act. We act like we got a horse forehead, except our whole face is exposed. Our whole nationality is exposed. And the whole world knows who we are, but us. Even Hitler knew it.
Okay.
Hitler said point blank, when the world realizes who America has in their possession, they're going to see what I was doing. That it wasn't all evil, what he was doing, which was evil, what he was doing. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't all evil. He knew a little something. He said, man, these people are wicked. If these these Zionist people get in control, you're going to have exactly what we have right now. Wickedness in this earth. And he was trying to stop that because he wanted to be the wicked one that was in control. But he was like, listen, man, you ain't going to talk about me while y'all over there doing this stuff. I know what y'all doing, trying to set these world banks up. Y'all been doing it from before my time, from Napoleon time, y'all been doing this stuff. Go ahead.
Verse 4, will you not from this time cry unto me, my father, you are the guide of my youth? Will he reserve his anger forever? Will he keep it to the end? Behold, you have spoken and done evil things as you could. Yahweh said unto me in the days of Uzziah the king, have you seen what backsliding Yasharal has done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there has played the harlot. And I said, after she had done all these things, turn you unto me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Yehuda saw it. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Yasharal committed adultery, I had put her away, and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Yehuda feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
So this is talking about the separation of the kingdom, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was considered the house of Yasharal, and the southern kingdom, which would have been Benjamin, Levi, and Yehuda, they were the southern kingdom. So they were the last ones, and this is how we know that we are probably of the tribes of Yehuda, Benjamin, and Levi, because we were the last to be in Jerusalem. Northern Israel was cut off. They were cut off. They weren't keeping the commandment. They weren't even considering themselves Israelites. They were considering themselves whatever was in power, whether they were in Greece or whether they were in Samaria, whatever. So they were cut off. And Yehuda was supposed to be the ones that continued in righteousness. But after seeing what happened to Northern Israel, we still did the same thing they did. And we were cut off. To the point where we are now, where the whole nation was cut off. Go ahead. Yeah, the sister said if you speak up, she can hear a little better.
I said, I don't know if everybody can hear me, but he also was talking about that. And also, when you read Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 1 and 2, it tells you point blank the error our people was making about worshiping other gods, following these pagan holidays. This is what Yahweh is saying. He give us that to do. He even reiterated that in Deuteronomy chapter 4. He said, I didn't give you the moon and stars and stuff like that to run after. I gave it to the Gentiles, the boy. I gave you me.
Right.
That's why he's going to deal with us. So I'm glad we hit on all these different verses, bro, because this is what they're talking about right here. We pour ourselves to other nations following their belief systems, to worship their pagan gods, Ashtoreth.
Right.
These Greek gods and so forth. This is why Yahweh got angry. It goes against commandments that he laid down for us in the wilderness at Mount Sinai.
Right.
And we made a point to tell Yahweh that all you said we shall do. We made a covenant. So we were breaking the covenant and disrespecting the Most High after he had already released our people from bondage. So this is why he's trying to tell us over and over and over again what we've done. And he wrote that in iron pen when we were doing that. So
right.
This is why I'm making a statement on this, that our brothers and sisters need to read, chapter 17 and understand the heart of Yahweh, why he's so upset.
Right. Doesn't he say that we're going to discontinue from our heritage in that chapter? I think he says that in chapter 17 as well. Okay, since you don't want to keep your heritage, fine. Guess what? I'll cut you off. You ain't gonna know nothing about it, since that's what you want to do, since you showed me. Why should I keep pushing this on you so you can keep disrespecting me and embarrassing me? It's verse 4, you said, you would discontinue from your own heritage. And you can see how we did that clearly in real world explanation. How many of these Christians do you see running to come here on the Shabbat?
None.
say, well, since y'all doing it, I'm going to do it too. They ain't coming here. They ain't trying to keep the Shabbat. But yet, let it be Sunday, our day, which is our first day of the work week. When we want to go do stuff, we want to party, we want to invite people over. Now, we got to go to church. Can't do it. So what do we end up doing? We end up profaning our Sabbath day and do it on Saturday because that's what everybody else is doing. Oh, it's too much of a burden on us to keep the Shabbat because everybody else is doing their stuff on Saturday. But you don't see them saying, nah, we're going to come to your party on Sunday. No. They're going to show up late after church and come by. They're going to make sure they do their thing. So even though they're wrong, they just like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A closed on Sunday. Yep. And they just put Chick-fil-A in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's tremendous. They wrong, but at least their devout is on point. So it means if they were redirected in the right way, they'd be better Israelites than you. That's right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks.
With
we
Islam.
Are at Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 9.
With stones and with stock. With Islam for that stone and with stocks, that cross for Christianity.
And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Yehuda has not turned unto me with her whole heart, but feignedly, says Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto me, the backsliding Yasharal has justified herself more than treacherous Yehuda. Go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return, you backsliding Yasharal, says Yahweh, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, says Yahweh, and I will not keep anger forever. Only acknowledge your iniquity that you have transgressed against Yahweh your Elohim, and have scattered your ways to the strangers under every green tree, and you have not obeyed my voice, says Yahweh.
And he says, only just acknowledge what you did was wrong. And this is how many of us are going to get purged out, because we won't even acknowledge that we're doing wrong by not keeping the Shabbat, by not keeping the holy days, by not keeping the laws, by not keeping the dietary laws, by not loving our neighbors like ourselves. We won't acknowledge that. And we don't have to acknowledge that because society says it's okay. So we're not forced, we're not brought before a judge where we have to go on oath and acknowledge what we did was right or wrong, or what we did matches what is right or wrong. And that's what's holding us back. That's the first step. If we can at least acknowledge, and this is why Day of Atonement is so important, because many of us, our sins are so deep and dark and so inner that we won't even acknowledge it until we are forced and afflicted by self-affliction to actually acknowledge that we transgressed the law. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Turn, O backsliding children, says Yahweh, for I am married unto you, and I will take one of you, and I will take you one of a city, and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. And it shall come to pass, when you be multiplied and increased in the land in those days, says Yahweh, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done any more. At that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of Yahweh, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of Yahweh, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. In those days the house of Yehuda shall walk with the house of Yasharal, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers.
All right, so that's Jeremiah 31 and 31. I will bring the Yehuda and Yehuda and Israel shall come together and be one, the new covenant. So, but in that, he's saying, listen, I will take you one of a city and two of a family. That could be a husband and a wife. Or that could be husband and wife being one and one child. That could be anything. Or it could be a brother and a cousin, like Miriam and her cousin, Elizabeth. So that he don't need everybody to do what he's going to do. We have to keep that in mind. And we can't ever get into that position where we feel like we that two in the family. Because he said he'll have mercy to whom he will and mercy to whom he won't. There might be somebody else in your family that would walk more correctly according to this word if they had been exposed. But Yahweh didn't expose them yet. Whereas you were exposed and you didn't walk correctly in this word. So we never want to get to that point where we feel that we saved. Because we not. Because none of us are worthy. Let's stop right there. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 6. And, you know, we feel like it's going to be, you know, natural disaster or, you know, you just die of sickness or this, that, and the other. And that's what's going to cause you to be purged. Yahweh is going to make his point. He going to make his point, especially with those that are not trying to allow Yahweh to lead them. They want to take things in their own hands and do what they feel is best instead of doing what we are commanded to do and caring about their brothers and sisters. Just like this captivity, you got people fleeing left and right thinking that they're going to go to Israel, a land that is occupied, and think that they're going to have peace over there. It's the same way people did it in Babylon, did the same thing, try to flee to Egypt, thinking they're going to go from one captivity to the next, and it's going to be better, instead of addressing the reason why you're in captivity.
Ezekiel chapter 6 and verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward the mountains of Yasharal and prophesy against them, and say, You mountains of Yasharal, hear the word of my sovereign Yahweh. Thus says my sovereign Yahweh to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys. Behold, I, even I, will bring a sword upon you, and I will destroy your high places. And your altars shall be desolate, and your images shall be broken. And I will cast down your slain men before your idols. And I will lay the dead carcasses of the children of Yasharal before their idols, and I will scatter your bones round about your altars. And in all your dwelling places the cities shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. Yet will I leave a remnant, that you may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when you shall be scattered through the countries. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, where they shall be carried captive, because I am broken with their whorish heart, which has departed from me, and with their eyes, which go a-whoring after their idols. And they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. And they shall know that I am Yahweh, and that I have not said in vain that I will do this evil unto them. Thus says my sovereign Yahweh, Smite with the hand, and stamp with your foot, and say, Alas, for all the evil abominations of the house of Yasharal. For they shall fall by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. He that is far off shall die of the pestilence, and he that is near shall fall by the sword, and he that remains and is besieged shall die by the famine. Thus will I accomplish my fury upon them. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when their slain men shall be among their idols round about their altars, upon every high hill, in all the tops of the mountains, and under every green tree, and under every thick oak, the place where they did offer sweet savor to all their idols. So will I stretch out my hand upon them, and make the land desolate, yea, even more desolate than the wilderness toward Diblath, in all their habitations, and they shall know that I am Yahweh.
All right. And it says in verse 6, Your dwelling place, the city shall be laid waste, the high places shall be desolate, your altars may lay waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images cut down. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. He is making his point. But yet will I leave a remnant, that you may have some that escape the sword among the nations when you shall be scattered through the country. So that's the whole reason we have the word to this day, because he was merciful enough to leave a remnant. So in this purging process, he's getting rid of folks and he's leaving a remnant to carry on, to pass the torch. And it says in verse 9, and they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whether they be carried captives, because I have broken with their whorish heart, which have departed from me, and with their eyes which go whoring after their idols, and they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. Which means they'll return back to Day of Atonement, to Yom Kippur. They will return to keeping the commandments. They will look at themselves in the mirror and not forget their image. They say, man, I was wicked. Because when you find out this history of how merciful the Most High was, how patient he was, and how much riches and blessings that he has before us, and we turned around and did this abominable stuff, how do you keep your head up feeling proud about yourself after these type of things? That's pride and haughtiness if you can still hold your head up after all that. Now, that doesn't mean that you sit in that loathsome. That would be to take a fall and stay in the fall. That's how you worship the adversary, the devil. But have a true image of yourself so that you know that you're filthy rags. So that when you go approach somebody and talk to somebody, you could have that same type of mercy towards them because of the mercy that you received. Let's go back. Let's go to Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah chapter 23.
Surely he would. He's a kind gentleman. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1.
Now, this purging process that we go through, it's not only just, well, I'm just going to kill off people. Well, he's also purging by providing us with the right information and right leaders and the right tools and the right spirit so that we can start to move away from that path that's leading to the purging. So that's part of the purging process. Part of that purging process to purge out these wicked pastors and teachers that are teaching this crap. And we've already, just this past year, we've seen some of that purging going on where Yahweh does not play. Turn somebody who was caught into their vanity and turn them into a bag of bones that just die away. That's nothing nice.
Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, says Yahweh. Therefore thus says Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal against the pastors that feed my people. You have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, says Yahweh. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries where I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, says Yahweh. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Yehudah shall be saved, and Yasharal shall dwell safely, and this is his name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness.
All right, so this is the prophecy of the Mashiach. Again, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will raise up unto David a righteous branch. What is that word for branch?
6780. Semak.
Which is a very interesting word in itself. H6780, which is a sprout, literally or figuratively branch, bud, that which were grew upon, springing. So this offshoot from Dawid. So that's letting you know it's not talking about Dawid coming back to do this. It is a branch that is coming from the house of David. And this king shall reign and prosper and execute judgment and justice in the earth. And when is this going to happen? It's going to tell you, in his days shall be saved, and Yahudah shall be saved, and Yasharal shall dwell safely, and this is the name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness. So this ain't nobody calling Dawid Yahweh our righteousness.
Verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh lives, which brought up the children of Yasharal out of the land of Mitzrayim. But Yahweh lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Yasharal out of the north country, and from all countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
All right, so we know that ain't happened. We still know Yahweh is Yahweh that freed us out of Mizraim. So this is the future. All right, let's stop right there. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 3. So he's going to bring us into that land, but if you've learned anything from this class, he ain't bringing everybody. And he's not going to bring everybody in your family. Because what if he does bring people in your family? That ain't going to save them. Look what happened to Lot's wife. They had the angels save them, bring them out of destruction. And while the destruction was going on, she still got herself destroyed. Because you can bring somebody to righteousness, but at the end of the day, they have to continue walking on their own. You can't carry them. You can point them in the right direction, and you can take them away from the destruction and keep walking them. But you can't stop them from turning back towards the destruction, if that's what's still in their heart.
Zephaniah.
Hold on, I'll give it a chance.
This is Zephaniah chapter 3. Zephaniah chapter 3, which is after Habakkuk and Micah.
Is towards the end of the New Testament. The Old Testament.
And right before Zechariah. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. She obeyed not the voice. She received not correction. She trusted not in Yahweh. She drew not near to her Elohim. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. They gnaw not the bones till the marrow.
So who is he talking about? He talking about Gentiles, or he talking about Israel?
Receive not correction and trust not in Yah.
Who are they talking about? The nations can't trust Yah that don't know him. He's talking about our own people here. This is Yasharal he's talking about. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. They gnaw not the bones till the morrow. Go ahead.
Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. Her prophets are light.
Verse 5.
Verse 5. The just Yahweh is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning does he bring his judgment to light. He fails not, but the unjust know no shame. I have cut off the nations. Their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabitant. I said, surely you will fear me. You will receive instruction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. Therefore wait you upon me, says Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy.
So he's dealing with us first, but at the end of the day, he's not forgetting the belt that was used to our backside, and all these other nations took part in this. But they did it for evil. They didn't do it, well, we're going to be the belt so that Yasharal can repent. Nah, they were jealous. They were angry. They were wicked in the people that did this stuff. So Yahweh ain't forgot about them. This is why the whole earth is being destroyed, because all the land that belonged to us is from the Nile to Euphrates. That area, that's our inheritance. The rest of the earth, that don't belong to us. The other nations have their allotted portion, and they did wickedness in those lands. So that land has to be destroyed, just like Jerusalem was destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Yahweh to serve him with one consent.
All right, so we don't have the pure language. So this is why it's ridiculous to sit here and argue over Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Shalom, 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 whatever. It's vain to argue over these things. Now, to tell somebody Lord versus Yahweh, that's 100% provable. That's correction. Go ahead.
Verse 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring my offering. In that day shall you not be ashamed for all your doings, wherein you have transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of you them that rejoice in your pride, and you shall no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of you an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Yahweh. The remnant of Yasharal shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in her mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid.
So you see that constant theme here, the remnant of Yasharal, the remnant. So if you take a Coke bottle, and by the time my children finish with it, and that's what they leave for daddy, they leave for daddy the remnant in the bottle. So when you got nothing in that bottle, they have literally opened it and drank it and tapped it out, and all you have is that little bit of color in there. And you pour water in there and you shake it up, and you get a slight little, dirty, dusty brown color. That's the remnant of the soda that's left in there. That's what he's saying is going to be left of Yasharal, a remnant, because he's purging out all the rebels. And this is the fact that should stay in our minds constantly in all our decision and all our walk, that he's only dealing with a remnant. And if you take all of Yasharal that know they're Yasharal, that try to keep the Sabbath, that try to keep these commandments, you can see how they walk. So even within them, that's a remnant. It's a remnant of us even know who we are. But even the remnant that knows who they are, there's a remnant that know who we are, that keep the commandments, repent, and are going to receive mercy.
Verse 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Yasharal. Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Yahweh has taken away your judgments. He has cast out your enemy. The king of Yasharal, even Yahweh, is in the midst of you. You shall not see evil anymore. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear you not, and to Zion, let not your hands be slack. Yahweh your Elohim is in the midst of you. Yahweh your Elohim in the midst of you is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over you with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over you with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of you, to whom the reproach of it was a burden.
All right. So you can't just say, well, I'm not going to do the wickedness. I'm good. I'm not going to help nobody else. You got to truly in your heart be sorrowful for the state of our nation, the state of our assemblies. That it is a reproach and it was a burden unto you to see our people go through these things. This is why we get so angry and we get so hurt when our loved ones and people that we're around just disregard Yahweh's commandments. It literally is a burden to us. It is a reproach. But we can't allow that reproach or that burden to turn into a seed of bitterness or a root of bitterness. We can't allow that to happen because we still have to do the job. We still have to do the service. But if you don't have that pain and that just to see how our people, just to drive by somewhere on the way from Shabbat and just see everybody purchasing and shopping and going to the mall and just doing all these things that are just so disrespectful to the Most High. If that isn't like, in your heart, you don't care for your people. Because we hurt doubly. We hurt for Yah because, man, look what you're doing to Daddy. And we hurt for our people because, like, bro, you don't know you killing yourself? Especially the heads of the households that's allowing this to go on. You know what you're doing to your family? So it's not enough just to not do it. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict you, and I will save her that halts, and gather her that was driven out. And I will give them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. And that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, says Yahweh.
All right, so we will be the stars. We'll be the popular people when they realize, whoa, wait a minute. Y'all the children of Yasharal? Whoa. You mean this is real? I knew y'all were from that region, but I didn't really truly believe that you were Yahweh's people and that you were, that you were the people that we were going to have to come to. But I knew y'all were from over there. Don't get me wrong. They know we from over there. They just don't believe that we the chosen people. So when all that happens, we will be able to come back to our land, but he's not going to put us back in the land with the same mind frame that we had that got us kicked out. He's not going to do that. So let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. And we're going to read verses 31 through 46, because at the end of the day, the word is going to be doing this purging. 25. Matthew chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 31 through 46 for the conclusion. And anytime we deal with Yahshua, we have to understand that Yahshua was Israel, the son of the Most High, Yah's firstborn, made into an image, just like we were, made into an image to hold the spirit of Yasharal, the firstborn spirit, the son of the Most High. So when it's talking about Yahshua doing something, we have to not only look at it as Yahshua HaMashiach, the man physically doing that, we have to understand that he was the word in flesh. So it's the word that's going to be physically doing the deed.
Matthew chapter 25, verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you hungered and fed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? When saw we you a stranger and took you in, or naked and we clothed you? Or when saw we you sick or in prison and came unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, insomuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me.
All right. So what kind of a person, or a person that actually does not know the Shem of the Most High Yah, does not understand Yad He Waheh, does not understand that, would think that somebody that without knowing Yahweh, without knowing Yahshua, not knowing any of this stuff, but out of the kindness of their heart, out of the spirit that Yahweh allowed them to have, fed the homeless, took care of the naked, clothed them, visited the sick people, did it out of the goodness of their own heart, not out of, for my tax return or so I can, be accepted into some organization or whatever the case, but did this out of the goodness of the heart. Yahweh gonna turn them away. No, you're of another nation. Goodbye. Go hop in that lake of fire for all your goodness, because you were born the wrong color or you were born the wrong nationality. That's somebody that doesn't understand the Shem of the Most High. And it's the same person that probably would think that you did not take care of the least of your brethren. You only took care of people that you thought you was going to get something in return. And you only tried to help somebody when you felt like you would get some publicity. It's going to just walk into the kingdom and say, look at all these people I helped. I did this for you. No, you did that for yourself. Go ahead.
Verse 41. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink.
You saw the least of the brethren. You thought that you weren't going to get nothing in return. You didn't want no cameras around you to show you preaching to these people so you can get some publicity, so you didn't say nothing to your brother and sister. You thought you was okay. Nah. You didn't do this of goodness of your heart. The homeless people can't put no money in your collection place. You ain't got nothing to say to them. But you are a transgressor, because it says, in any wise shall you not suffer sin to rest upon your brother. You must rebuke him in any wise. That doesn't just mean the favorable brothers and sisters, or the people that you don't know, or the people you do know. Go ahead.
Verse 43. I was a stranger, and you took me not, and naked, and you clothed me not, sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily, verily, I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
All right. So again, Yahshua is going to be the person responsible for the separation of the sheep and the goats, because he is the word. He's not just, I like this guy. He's cool. Come with me. She's pretty. Come with me. No.
I'm partial like that.
He's not. That's what man does. The word. That's why when it talks about in Revelation, it opens up the books, the book of life, and the books. Because you have the book of life, which is this word. Then you have the books of your life, what you did. And he's reconciling, just like an accountant. So you did this, you did that. Well, accountant looks, how can I balance this? How can maybe if I do this, I can do that. I can balance these books. I got to add more here. I got to take away from this. So he's looking to balance you. He's looking to say, hey, listen, I covered all of this. All of this was covered from the day that you got immersed and you decided you wanted to repent in your heart. You good. I got all this. And then right here, he fell, but look, he fixed that himself. So there is a purging going on, and you can see clearly with what's going on in the earth that this is clearly happening now. And it's going to get worse. This is nothing. It's going to get worse. So it behooves us to find out what we can do to help better ourselves and better our chances of receiving that mercy, because mercy is the only thing that's going to get us into this kingdom. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. Again, for all those that asked the question, why are these brothers up here with their heads covered? Well, we're getting ready to pray. Well, I'm not a prophet. I don't think I'm a prophesy, but we're getting ready to pray. So when we pray, we follow the tradition of the scriptures. We remove our head covers. There's no law that says I got to do that, but we move away from the worldly traditions, and we keep the traditions that are not transgressing the laws of the Most High.
Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer?
Abba Father, most holy and true covenant Elohim, Abraham, Yishak, and Yaakov. We give you thanks for the Yahweh, and all glory unto you for the Yahweh, for allowing us, Father, to be adopted by you for the Yahweh, to allow us for the Yahweh to come before you and worship you, Father, to understand your word, Father, as you allow. Heavenly Father, keep our hearts soft and pliable before the Yahweh to receive your word, understand your word, Father, and understand for the Yahweh as we should for the Yahweh, as your sacrifice of your Son for the Yahweh, that we should feel it in our hearts, Father, for what he did, Father, for the love of you, for the love of your children, for the Yahweh. Give you thanks and praise for these things, for the Yahweh, and we know, Father, believing on you and having faith on you, Father, that you will allow us to understand these things for the Yahweh. So we will repent for the Yahweh for the things that we do for the Yahweh. So we ask, Father, in Yeshua's mighty name, for the Yahweh, continue to have your mercy upon us, Father, for all of for the Yahweh, they want to know your word, Father, and do your word, for the Yahweh, not just hear it. Give you thank you praise, Father, in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Amen.
Amen.